يعني اللي خمي وعلكم كلكم زي مبل ساسة عامة نايتجراي جينوسايد ما أخل غير كاز قدر زلو ديسكشن thank you SGT نزي نزقجاكم مجمرة نيشتي سميعي ناي أتمسفن أب تجراي جينوسايد فتسي ممكن قلتلنا حدا جينوسايد كو قلت زخيل انتاي عينت أبغاق سانيروهم مستوكالي على زقبر ناي جينوسايد مجلسي أب تجراي استخايد ناي جينوسايد يقولوا زقبرنا قدمي له أدمتي مجمارهم تجارب ناي تجارب سمتفا زي اللوا تكالات كم زلوا بميدياتاتهم نتسرحلو صنيحو بميدياتاتهم حاني مئتن قلن نحمشته كم زجرنا هنشوفلو أمينا رعد شبران زيت كالي ناي جينوسايد تفتصم من عدتات تاريخ نسمع زنارنا نروي زنارنا بصحفات أبانا تغيري زي ما بقس حيزهم بأكل أتيهم زجور وون إن كان هبان وج ويتخصي مستو استعاطق سراوت زي منوارو تناي جينوسايد ما بقسي كم نجمر يقول سمع العلكان حدا محبرسب سمونا تفاخا كتشوف لقاينا الكان ناتحتك عالم أو ميدياتات كسلا غيركا دحراي تيناي بأكل نتقعتن تقصن وقئن ورارن بيمان صقام استغورلو إينير سلازي تي بصحف تفلطو وي بتمرت وي بحد نغير تريو عاب تግራይ عدنا استغورلو إينير قدمي 3 عامات علت 3 استجمره مالتي قدم لهم بميديا بأكل لما بيمان صقام بإرترا بإثيوبيا بكله شنخ تግራይ وران استغور الله معلتيا نعنا تجارو كحلنا تجراوي زيت لق معلتيا كم زيلنا تراي زيت كونس نقصال المورة مجرشة خزارو إيه زمعت زيادن بفولي كنذكرى زقبري ولا كتو قدمي إذناره نوجس نتنورو تعلت زيادن فلي زولت نيرا تشاف نعنوت تجراوي كم كيف تستوتتلو كم انسسا استغفعلو معلتي موجس نيرا دا معت زيانا انزي ما اخل غيركم زغوركم تخكليو እና قصالون نذكرنا يكون قمت رايون زي كونس كغبور زغبኦም كغبور እዮም كبل دلييه او زي قديمو استغبره هم تزولكو نستي توهاغ اي نبره منم زي فلطا نصوحات عدتاتنا نصوحات احواتنا عاوغزنا هلوا دقن سبعين بمقتال العالم تراي زي فلط قفعي عسرته حمشته كوينو عمص كبال تلس عمص حدا ودن حنت قال كمصات له طراي يكون نير زي تغبر عالمي تغيربانا سبنتا خصل تاتري تزري تسمع زلون سبنتو قصل ناي تግራዋይ ስክባላሾ ተጋሩ ስናን خينق تسترفونس كم محبرسب نكاين هلو ولا دغ زلنا رسنا كبالاشو زغبر مسكحخ تاريخ نير معات حصاونا ما حصنبلتا معات مسمارات اتيو تግራዋይ كيفري بقى دعي او كل تغير ديزي انا I don't know يفلط ما حصناس ولا بهوت قرياس نخيفري تግራዋይ زبحال كيفطر سكار كتفطر انفكشن كتفطر ما حصن زبحال كيلوا ما حصنا كوص رأسا طراي زي كونه تغداس تفريلو زغاوير زفطرلاو نخيهلو استغبرلو فليز ولا مسكحر عالم زيله ادو تግራይ أو حواتنا تفتصيمي زيرمات حدا زقادة بعالم زي تفتصمه أوانا زسكحخح استقورلو ካልኦት ዓድታት በዘይ ድሌተን ሓደ ወዲ ክዕምፅ እንተሎ ይዓመፅ ዝበሃል እሱ ጥራይ ግን ኣይኮነን ዓሰርተ ሓሙሽተ ሸውዓተ ኣወዳትና ተቀያየሩ ብድሕሪት ኢደን ተኣሲረን እግረን ተኣሲረን ብፍጹም ኣነ ከምዚ ዓይነት ስቃይ ተሰሚዑ ተራእዩ ዘይፈልጥ استجبرلو ኣብ ትግራይ ዓድና በሽሓት ኣብ ማእኸላትና ይርከባ ዘን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ እዚአን ስለዚ እዚ ዝተገበረላ ዓዲ እያ ዓድና እዚ ድማ ብጣዕሚ ዓሪኻ ክፀሓፍን ክግለፅን ዘለዎ መስተሕኽዒ ኣቦታት ኣብ ገጾም እናሃለዉ ይርሸኑ ህፃናት ቆልዑ እዚ እናየና ዝርዩ ዝተቃለሰ መብዛሕትኡ ካልኣይ ዘን ትካላትና እውን ቅድሚኡ ብሚድያታቶም ዘሚተሙለን ተንለዋ እድሜዋን ንብለን ተንውሕዳት ማለት እዩ ተንውሕዳት ዝዋው ትካላት ቤትምህርታትና ሕክምናና ይናኣስዕበ ምስተውዓዲ ዘሎ ብምምጥጣን ዝተወሰነ ዝነበራ ትካላትና ትግራዋይ ትካል ከይህልዎ ተኽኢሎም ክወስድዎ እንተዘይክኢሎም ድማ ኣፈራሪሶም ክወስድዎ እንተዘይክኢሎም ድማ ክቃፅልዎ ኮታስ ትድሕሪ ኩናት እውን ትዘሎ ትግራዋይ ንኸይነብረሉ ባዳ ክትከውን ትግራይ ተባሂላ ንኸይትፅዋዕ ከም ስጋ መዓሳት ተኸፋፊሎም ንየማንን ፀጋምን ኣቂዶም ዝኣትውሉ ናይ ጆኖሳይድ ምርር ዝበለ ኦፍኮርስ ኣብ ዓለማት ተኻይዱ ይበሃል ንሰሚዕና ግን ንሕና ንበይኒ ንሕና ስለ ዝኾነ ይኮነ ፍሊት ዝበለ ነይሩና ዕለት ሰለስተ ክንዝክር ከለና እዚኦም ብምልኦም እዮም ናብ ቅድሚትና ዝመፁ ስለዚ ሓደ ክፋል ሕብረተሰብ ንጥቃዕ ጥራይ ዘይኮነ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ዳ ዝገልፅ ኣለኹ ታዶ ትወልድ ተፍሪ ስለ ዝኾነት እምበር ጠቕላላ ትወዱ እውን ይትሕለሉ እቱ ስብኣያ እቱ ኣቦኣ እቱ ወዳ እዩ ትሕለና ትማይንዲ ናይ ማይን በቃ ርእስና ንኸይሰርሕ ብርእሱ ተተጫዊትካዮ ብርእሱ ተሓእቲካዮ ሓደ ሰብ እንታይ እዩ ክገብር ዝኽእል እዚ ሓደ ናይ ጆኖሳይድ ኣፈጻጽማ እዩ እና ብጣዕሚ መስካሕክሕ ዝኾኑ ዝተጀመረትላ ዕለት እያ ካብኡት ዝቐፀለ እስካብ መጨረሻ ዝነበረ ከምቲ ዝርአ እዩ ኣትክልትታት ኳስ ሓደ ተኽሊ ንፈልጥ ቅድሚኡ ዝነበረ ወራራት ንፈልጦ ሸማጢጦም ይወልዕዎ የባላሽዎ እዩ ንኸይፍሪ ካብ ታሕቲ ካብ ስሩ ምፍንቃል ክጠፍእ ምግባር እዚኦም በቃ እቲ ኣጠቃሊልካስ ትግራይ ትበሃል ንኸይትህሉ ጥራይ ዘይኮነስ እንተሃልያ ውስጡ ኢላ ምድረ በዳ ንኽትከውን ተኣቂዱ ዝተገበረሉ መዓልቲ ስለ ዝኾነ እዚ ድማ ሕድሕድ ወለዶ ክፈልጦ ጥራይ ዘይኮነስ ፈሊጡ መፍትሒ ክወሉ ክፅናዕ ሕድሕድ ዝተገበራ ወረዳታት ዝተገበረን ዝተፈፀመን ቀበሌታትን ጎቦታት ትግራይን ሽንጥሮታት ትግራይን ተሓድሽ ወለደና ክፈለጦ ከም ህዝቢ ክንገብሮ ዝግበአና ከም ምሁራት ከም ማሕበረሰብ እዚ ፅንዓት ተገይሩ ኣብ ዓድና ዝተገበረ ስቃይ ኣብ ዓለም ከም ማሕበረሰብ ዲፕሎማት ስራሕትና ኣጠናኺርና ክንሰርሐሉ መንግስቲ ካልእ ጥራይ ዘይኮነስ ከም ማሕበረሰብ ተዓጢቕና ክንሰርሐሉ ሕዚ 30 ዓመት ዘለና ዝተፈላለዩ ፈተነታት ተጋጢሙና ነቱ ዝተፈላለዩ ዘጋጠመና ምምካት ንርከብ ዓዲ ዘለና ኣብ ደገ ዘለና ሕዚ ድማ ናይ ዲፕሎማት ስራሕትና ኣጠናኺርና ፅንዓትና በተለይ ምሁራት እዚ ብሰነድ ተታሒዙ ኣብ ዓለም ክንሰርሐሉ ምእንተ ኮታይሉ ተቆዲኡ ዝተበተና ዓለም ውሽጢ ደቅናና ንእሽቲ ኣሕዋትና ኣለኹም እዚ ድማ ብተን ዘለዋ ውዳበታት ስፔሻሊ ናይ ዓለም ምሁራት ዘለኹም እዚ ብፅንዓት ተፀኒዑ ኣብ ዓለም ብውዳበታትና ንምሳሌ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ሂውማን ራይት ውመንስ ራይት ዝነጥፍ ኣለዋ ኣብ ዓድና ዝተገበረ ሕድሕድ ከይድና ኣፅኒዕና ኣብ ዓለም ክነምህረሉ ጥራይ እውን ዘይኮነስ እዚ ተፈፂሙ እዚ ዝተፈፀመ ማሕበረሰብ ግን ምንም ዘይተረኣየ ምዃኑ ትንኣስትዕበ ኣብ ደገ ዘላ ተወዲባ ክትገብሮ ዝግበኣ እዚ እዩ ከም ማሕበረሰብን ከም ተጋሩ እቲ ዝተፈፀመ ኣብ ልዕለና ሰነድ ምስናድ ብዝተፈላለየ መንገዲ መንግስቲ ሰኒዱ ክበና ጥራይ ክንፅበ የብልና ንናይ ባዕልና ሓላፍነት ስለ ዘለና نحن كم محبرسة حالات مثلا بيت سبنا عدنا حزبنا استفدنا دياسبورا زلاو داتات تودينا ازي نخنصرحلن ازي سكام مጨረشو كنبصحن نانا هومورك ايو كبل يدلي ساعات 5 دقائق مثلني I hope صبو تتقيمي ياخون يزا ጊዜ زي كبل زدلي كبرن مبسن نسمعتاتنا نودل ودبا حيل ايو كبل يدلي مጨረሻ نزي ززاجاجكم يغني لنا.
Thank you, Safu. Yeah, nearna yeah, time kan istay بتاع مزنجنا ولا تمجايشنا نصلمو هزوان كلاوكم زلس بقى على تفضفنا ونازن حسابي دقاقة منا أزيب بتاع ميت تصبحنا أخي كمون إسايا سلوك أو تانا ناهيلن جروب نيون أيوم ناكالت فولو أب زنورة ناتي 5 minutes ولا سوي لك جيب جور إنسو جيب أب جبريانه مكنياتو تايم مانجمنت نيشتلي تاشمو نخون لنامو زي عيلة أزيب يا after diplomacy after advocacy أني خيخي بزح نجارب زي حتى زاد اللي كونان جين مستناي دكتور محتمي تي نهاتنا حالة في النت انت أيو خم تجارب دياسبرا نوشتن كمان نحن سرحنك على سلنا أيومو أو نايو على حساب حسب بالكي تتبناك أو ناب إساس خدية ناي دبلوماتي هان سلتنا هل تدي أزبنا جن حراين ومجرش خنجورنا أكن عصمنا.
يقنيلي Nikki Hawaii and all the panelists, including the viewers. I got your back. I'm not going to use all the time. Save Kagabral Kaegin. Ana Bitigrinya, challenge the Gabrania, ta point being I have Kua. I'm going to go through that question about commodity. My current situation, Majamara Nai Tigray issue Matiye. Tigray has a la Tornet at Oilu. Again, my art challenge that in Damet Zaglo. Can challenge the ma. Philly the block of Alam. Nai Tigray Tafale Ainet to genocide him Tafale Ainet. That's one. Call I the media and the exposure during the war. Slazy Philly below in Tigray. Natna focus can get Brazilana. Tinatna agenda. Kullisha now admit Knam Solana. And I had a say, I don't want to be again. Nai call out Sabat. كل شيء نقدم تي interest or تي ناي تجارو دليت انتايو زبحال مجمرتان نقولني نقبرو يرأيني من الواش تجاجي خفون فعليه مكناتو تزللنا تأجمعت بزوحي زب هذا تناي IDP 3.1 مليون حزبي إذا لو تفنائلو زلو أب تمرت بيت أب شنداتات يعني زقمت زلو تهزبي سو قرية لو مقاتل لو communicable disease دماغ دعمي expose قبر كونيتاتاتيو ما يصروية لأن هذين دوام سميع كنت هونكم currently cholera outbreak لو نا أزيتات ناي تجراي فلي يبلو إيو تي أجمنا دماغ ناتنا كل شيء نقولني نقبر مو ناي كالي سب مس نمس تناتنا challenge تات ندهالو مالتي تا كما إنا بتجراي فوكس كنجب ناي تجراي كونيتاتات كجبر زلوا هذا أفتزلوا تأجم تا بريتوريا عندي أتفرّي ما متيازلا تا تفرّمت كما إنا implement نجبرها مالت التجافرمنتم أوزلو تفرّي ما زلا ورقة بورقة راح نتيكونه ورح push back زدلي مثلاً مالت توم facilitator اللو أيكونه نساتهم IE مالت AU أمريكا لا كان أوتم زلوا لنا EU مالو مالتي so نعاتهم قرب push back تزرعي دس مبلني تي نحكمنا challenge تات بس في زادو hospital أنا هذه المثالة وتودي بسرها HPN board member malakulu ab resource mobilization malaku SJT kam SJT sarahadlahu so zitat ti challenge tat bidam inrion sam'ina khab addi malati kam ala ka Sudan kullu shigrat iመስል ስለዚህ ተናይ ህክምና ቲናይ ትምህርት ቤት ድማ IDP ያለውሉ so አጥሪኻ እንኳን ተማሩት ከተወሉን ተበልካ it still is a problem ስለዚህ እቲ ጸገምናስ ብዙሕ እዩ እና ናትና እንታይ እዩ ናይ ዳያስፖራ ዚኣ ተድሌና ፎከስ ምግባር ኣለና ታናትና ድሌት እንታይ እያ እተን ጸገማት እንታይ እየን ሕዝን ምሳሌ ብዙሕ ኦርጋናይዜሽን ኣለውና ኣብ ኣሜሪካ ዩሮፕ እና ተን ኦርጋናይዜሽን ከመኢና ብሓደ ክንሰርሕ ንኽእል ትዱፕሊኬት ዝኾነ ስራሓት ከመኢና ጠጠው ንብሎ ነገራት ክንሪኦ ኣለና ነዚ ድማ እንታይ እዩ እቲ አንተ ዝሓወይ ካብ ትግራይ ተዛረቦ it's a big ከሓስቦ ዝነበርኩ ነገራት እዩ ተዛሪቦሞ ሪፒት ክገብር አይደለም ምክንያቱም ኩላቶም ተናገርኩሞ ይሁን so እታ ኤክስፐርት ዘለና አላ ኤሪያ ፎከስ ተንገብር ሕክምና በሕክምናኡ ቲ ኢንጂነር በኢንጂነርነቱ እቲ መምህር ከምኡ እቲ ኢንፍራስትራክቸር ክሰርሕ ሰብ አውታት ጌርና ተን ኦርጋናይዜሽን ከመይ ጌርና ኢና ብሓደ ክንሰርሕ ንኽእል ትብል ሕቶ ኣብ ኩሉ ሻዕብ ርእሰይ ኣላሞ ኣነ እንታይ መስለኒ ሜቢ ከም ሲምፖዚየም ጌርና ተራኺብና ይህን ተባሂልና እንታይ ኤርያ ኢኻ ኔትወርክና ክነግፍሕ ንኽእል ምክንያቱም ድማ ተሪእኹሞ እቲ ሪሶርስስ ሓደ ቦታ እዩ ኩሉ ዝወስድ ማለት ወይት ኮሚኒቲና ኢና ንሓትት ወይት ዶነርስም ብሓደ ኩሉ ክሓትት ይኽእል ማለት እዩ so እዚኣ repetition ከይትኸውን or redundant ከይትኸውን እንታይ ኢና ክንገብር ዘለና እንተበልና ወይ ካብትናትና ኦርጋናይዜሽን ውፅእ ዝበለ እንታይ ዝበሃል ካልኡ ንባዕሉ ዝኾነ ኤንቲቲ ኮይኑ ከተሕዘና ዝኽእል ሓቢርና ክንሰርሕ ንኽእለሉ ተኣይድያ ዝህብ እቲ ሓደ ኣውት ሻይን ክገብር ከይበለስ ከመይ ኢልና ብሓንሳእ ንሰርሕ ዝብል ሜቢ ካብ ወፅእ ዝበለ ተንሪእሉ ፅቡቅ ይመስለኒ ስለዚ diaspora has done an amazing job I don't know what to say a miracle ስራሕ ይሰርሑ እና ምንም ካሊ ኦርጋናይዜሽን ዘይሰርሑ ስራሕ ይሰርሑ so having said that ካብዚ ናበኢና ንኸይድ በዓልትና ክንሓትት ኣለና እታ ሪደንደንት ዝኾነት ነገር ድማ ከመኢና ንቐርፎ ማለት እዩ so I think ናተይ ብጣዕሚ ሕፅር ዝበለት እያ idea ክሪኣ ዝደሊ እሳ እያ ብሓንሳእ ክንሰርሐሉ ነተን ኦርጋናይዜሽን ሪሶርስና እንተየበላሸና ከመይ ጌርና ኢና ሓቢርና ክንሰርሕ ንኽእል ዝብል እዩ ዘለኒ እታ መጨረሽታ I believe በእንግሊዝኛ የፅሒፈኛ ግን I have that point ምናልባሽ one might have a question perhaps have a separate secretarial position an independent entity with its own board will serve as a bridge for the different organizations to get to know each other to network for technical support on top of the same donors تحزنا نخالي دما نحتل كونيتات كنحز مالتي sorry my تقريبا thank you guys
thank you azib يعني لاي صبوا له تقريبا يعني لنا حبتي وناي بتعمي قرتا اشكو لنا ስለዘለና ማለት እዩ ኢሳያስ ብጣዕሚ መስክርታ ማለት እዩ ብጣዕሚ ነው ተጸቢኻለኻ ዲፕሎማት ዮሐንስ ጸኒዕ መጸካና ከተደጋ መጨረሻ መስዋዕት ጋር አመንታሞ ኢሳያስ ዕድል ክንህቦ ሒዚ discussion I think ኢሳያስ ሓወይ already ተረዲኣትካ ስለዘላ ካብ ጥያቄ ዘምጻሲ ጃምፒንግ ንግበርሞ ተኮነታት ያው እቲ ኤክስፔሪየንስ እውን ኣብቲ ኣድቮኬሲ ጸኒሕካ from day one ሒዚ እውን ብትናይ individual wala ተመጽኻስ ኣብቲ ናይ ሕግ ሞያታት እውን ስለዘለካ ኒ ረብሓ ተጋሩ ኒ ኣብ ውሽጥ ነብደገን ዘለና بتناتك experience نا بتي لمدتات ناتي تكاتل صنعنا تكاتل زلها قدات بحدا غير كا تي نايت مال اي نو اوباد نايت اش مناي تي صحاب كايو ونيريو داغاطام خوين غزيا سلا حصرنا يمبر نتغزا خنريو يبنا نيرو افتناي ادي ستاندرد صحاب كايو نيرو سون سون نغر مغد على لبيلكا تي ديسكشن كم تري زلخا نابخا خن قصل موت فوكس نغورو ياو تاسكات انتاي زلينا كم تغار صغمنا ياو دغاغنا ندرنا ግን እንታይ ሓላፍነት kana ተጋር ዘልየና ከመይ ገርና ኢና ከነማቻሽና ክንሰርሕ ዝግበአና በደንብ ገርካው ነቲ ህዝብና መጣት ተሐልፍ ደስ ማለኒ ይቅርታ ንሓተትኩ ማለት ብዙሕ ስለ ተጸበይኻና
Okay, thank you, Mickey. Yeah, no problem. I think the lesbi سعلو نجار يلا. Of course, so حبز إحنا جار نيرو. كله busy. Of course, we have a lot of things to do. But كوزي بلس أنا جار يبلنا. I think سلس بهم أنا متأكد بله. So that being said, كذا ربو focus قبل زلوا كنا جار. I know زي زي positive زفنا نجار. همزي جيرنا سبوت نجار positive نجار كله بحوار كمس زخل نجار أو focus نقبار use it delay. I understand. هذا سفرت هذا اللون نجارات زراعي تلمدن كم political culture في نقول زراعي تلمدن. I know very well. أو تولي does our good. I know the culture وين بيفوتي. But قبل ما نفتح جل بالسفرتها هذا issue اللو مالت كتزارو مزغبلو جن بزعوا accountability كم حق بعد ما يبزعوا accountability زارو اللي فينا accountability كمان قدم خزي نبرو missteps historical mistakes should not be repeated. So we have to correct that. As soon as they start, I think that should be underlined. I think. I think personal interaction بزح كبرايد لين زي جبرنا ينقر بزح نزل زاريدلين. GSS هي مجمرة GSS يو وسنة سات فقيرة لهالف كل سنة عملت شعار بعد زي including of leadership ناي سمين أمريكا GSS بوبر فينتو سنة زي قال كلية SGT1 of course. I سمين كاليفورنيا توكالي فينتو سنة ساعات غيرنا هنا. صرحنا ينقر بزح أو ذيك الزروق زي زي اللبس صلاح بزح نقر فتنا ينقر له بزح accountability موفقس كيرا كأول ما تيجبر هذا conclusion خديه so مجمرة بزح accountability زارتنا genocide بحالته لو بسرون first thing I think بزح سب confuse قبره genocide كابت definition وين كابت ترجمون تاريخهم killing members of a group in whole or in part ማለት genocide تبعته لسبات مسلم destroying millions of people متفقق مسلم actually that's a very definition genocide is just killing in part in whole or in part so if you kill part of the society توصلنا even أثرت شخصيات كهذا مبرز تقاتله زي المصنعاتي what makes it genocide is the intent to destroy حسابي لمن تأيام زيلا كم تفتوا أربع زي يكنجب عبر الوقت قال بزح نجار ناي جينوسايد هذا ملكة بالتيو كنجب عبر الوقت هم عارف نجارات تزرب نيرهم زي ناي جينوسايد كابتن عصرت ناي جينوسايد ملكتات ما مجمرة classification. There are 10 steps of genocide. The first one is classification, symbolization, discrimination, and then the act of genocide, and then denial. There are 10 steps. So the first two steps happened a lot. Like for the past 30 years, happened a lot. Tigray وده قبلي شانتا وده مكالي. زي بهذا نبرة when I was in high school. So that was symbol. ملكتي نيرو. That was the symbol of genocide. That was the start. So أتمنى هذا حاجة actually سجون توصي جرنايرو نيرو داشيتو 30 years ago. نزحت يوم عن توزار وريو. The media ده أنا سمعت فوق صارت له defend مكبار. تناي wrong narrative counters قبل صراحة يتصرح المزوج ذي. The media يكون بقلي هون يتصرح. That's a failure. عنتو مزوجات حواتنا هاترون قلي زومريا. So that being said, كأو حليفون تكبر بحقيقة بوسترز قبل سجنتون نيرو. The reason why I'm mentioning this is not to blame مقبار الفنس. تقول صارلون قبل حلفين على مهار. قبل تاريخ خاتم مهار مبر يرون just solution سوي خاتم مريت ينسب. So the action type قبل نيرو بحقيقة هذيك وين ما حوهات الحلفة الثلاثة إسرع شو أتنا على تبسطان دالو برلمان منو طوال سيرو تسمعنا تنهالو شيء Ethiopia should have been a member of the International Criminal Court 27 years ago. We could have done it. Ethiopia is not a member because the Rome Statute, we haven't signed the Rome Statute, so we cannot prosecute Abiy. That's the problem. The self-stat State Department, Berad, Highlights, Anna, Chorro, he's not going to Mogaloko, Bognatum, the ICC, Khasas, Lazekoi. It has Salamtai, Ethiopia, Nai, ICC, Abalkatwana Khalas, Lazegurnai. And it's not opportunities. Lazy, Zikfletic by Kau, Zimstolpo, Mosatuna Gosset of Harlem, Lincoln. Love tonight diaspora participation to diaspora like very level one but also accountability like not Pretoria until Zavat article I'm not interested to discuss that, but I thought this is sufficient on a panel but it's not even just summarize Gabroe Haziro ብዙሕ ፌል ገበርና ነገራት ኣሎ ሓደ ፌለር አንተም ተባሂሉ እዩ ፀገምና ብዙሕ ግዜ ኤክስተርናላይዝ ገበር ኢና ናትና ፀገም ላውሽት ምራእ የተለመደ ላውሽት ትሪት ኣለኻ when you ask something I'm not a member of any political party I don't have any interest I'm not against anyone ናይ ተቃዋሚ ይኹን ሕዋት ይኹን I'm just ንሕጊ በዓሉ ማይል ትግራይ ልምሕጋ ዝበር I don't have any interest so ኮነ ሰብ ትግራይ ይጠቅም ነገር ዝክስታኸለው ትባል ተሎ ትፈርህ ሰብ ኣሎ በቃ ማለት ካብ ውድብ ፍቅሪ ክኾን ጥሉ ተቃዋሚ ይኹን ሕዋት ተጋፍ that's fine بسولي واحد كنقدر بتصل من Tigray تاريخي بتصل له من شجرة ولا what I'm saying is سواء فليد بالحساب الحاليهم بفرح سبوق أيقونة I think we have to accommodate different views we have to be used to that قبل حارون كم مسؤولية Pretoria Summit تفرموا it's been 1 year since we signed the Pretoria agreement هذا عم تقيرو 4% صرنا Tigray مريت تتحيدوي أسرش % خون زينة أنا research تجرب أنا قريب أسرش منت اللي خون Tigray population still أو سلا يدي زلوا IDPs and refugees have not returned back to their home reconstruction of Tigray أي تجمرن hospital بيت مرتي بنتوتات public service أي تمارس الشيء هذي تعتقدنا مويتوي Pretoria deal مسفرنا is good because we signed we agreed to abide by the transitional justice mechanism the systems which means international investigation, that was dead on arrival because we signed that provision, Article 10 of the Pretoria Agreement, exclusively wave gear liner. That's a big problem. And then evidence destruction. Last time Anton Zaribayana, Masrajat Mitfa. Masrajat in a sense, the Tatnet commits like war crime. Like we're not given tank that all these equipments were destroyed, were sold. And this is not my opinion. There's an investigation going on in Tigray, right? So that's what and Khali Amar had but that should have been the evidence. That was the material evidence for war crime that was destroyed. That's why I was saying last time I gonna go for the even the Tariq of Kwasi Ummat Igbani, Tankat Gala, the Tariq, Museum Gala Ummat Igbani, get destroyed, clean Gerama, it's been cleaned. Because Abik Tasla Zaidale at Fiwo, so the whatever it to the Zimstolpo, Zalana DDR Run, Anto Hadahona, Antahana Galis at Tonera, demobilization and demobilization Srahmalati DDR, Anto Haili, it's Fethi, Sakhar Nagari, at Fatihna, Ulunagar Tigirugan. እቶም ወታደራት ናይ ኢንተርናሽናል ዲዲአር ስታንዳርድ ኣለዎ ዕጥቂ መስተተሓኻ ዝግበር ነገር ኣሎ በመጀመርያ ሴኪዩሪቲ ኣድላዩ ሴኪዩር ዝኾነ ምክንያቱም 200,000 ዝኸውን ሰብ ዕጥቂ መስተተሓ እንድሕር ዲሳትፋይድ ኮይኑ እንድሕር ፀገሙ ዘይተፈትሐሉ ናብ ወንጀል ከዓ ትፈልዩ ተስፋ ቆሪፁ እዚ ናይ ፖለቲካል ዊል እውን ናይቶም ዕጥቂ ዝፈትሑ ተጋድልቲ መሰሎም ክኽበር ናይ ጥዕና ናይ ሳይኮሎጂካል ሰፖርት and economic empowerment እዚ ኩሉ ነገር ክግበር ዲቴል ከደለን ብዙሕ ክግበረሎም ዝግባእ ነገር ኣሎ ንምንታይ ናይ Pretoria ስምዕ ተፈጻሚ ዘይኮነ ሕፅር ዝበሉ ነገራት 4-5 ክጠቅስ First and foremost, the Pretoria Agreement is a political and legal document. ናይ ፖለቲካ ስምዕን ሕጊ ዶክመንት እዩ and this is relevant because if it's political agreement it requires political will. ናይ ፖለቲካ ስምዕ ስለ ዝኾነ ፖለቲካ ድልውነት እውን የድልዮ እዩ ተፈጻሚ ክኸውን because we need the political will of the US government, European Union, African Union, and of course Abiy, even TPLF, the leadership, because TPLF signed the agreement. So na politika dulumna fi dhazela na afasamun khabidi hada sagam suyi. Khalai na afasama min gadun yeblo enforcement. Alamna agreement tgabbartalo any international agreement comes with enforcement mechanisms. How it should be implemented. The Pretoria Agreement lacks that. There's no enforcement mechanism in place. It's just an agreement. And third, TPLF leverage one, I'm not into politics, but TPLF, there's an internal power into the Messenger. I hope they will resolve that, in amicable way. أما أخذ مكفال بأس وتمثله تسمعنته دلو حيني لا دخل من خدمة على تيم بعضي الناشونال درجة بيتبعون عالم لخ درجة مهناتهم TPLF دلو سجن أم أخذ مار هذا سجن عالم لخ تكالاتن والكسبات يسمعوا يبأس الله بعلاتهم سلزي they don't care because now alpha سجن من هذه فتحة تسمعنتهم كله كيفهم هذا عمد غيره سلزي تاين جبر لو بتفتح هذا the contract has been breached. The pre-trial agreement has been breached. It's not implemented. Again, some actors get storm and the first some contracts when you breach a contract, you can renegotiate together. As they are simple now, like Savat contract to a simple purchase gala and contract and so this is actually a good opportunity to renegotiate and amend some of the provisions until the articles will go a bit standard which means you can ask them for amendment, which means we can incorporate some additional provisions, especially the Article 10, because that's one of the most important provisions actually. Should be through transitional justice, mechanism, international mechanism, international observers get back alone. Salsa Gadun Atio, the Qatar Lumangadi Kmetz, Amen Gibral opportunity, Kulu Kholi. Diaspora Zahagan, I disagree with Zahalilan. I think there is lack of harmony between the diaspora and the leadership to Seneca because had exit after advocacy when هذا جزء مثل political leadership ناي Tigray temperature ناس مو advocates دور سبات الله تمار حاجة لي نقدر تقولين وزجبر كحجز سكة كله بس حما عندك نقدر الله so I think السوق أما أقل division تفاطيريو تخلي دموس أجمع we have to understand the diaspora actually so diaspora تاي كم تدلي كنفلت لنا especially you have to understand the youth the new generation of the diaspora because they were born and raised in democracies okay أبدا قلت ولد سبات you can't manipulate them. They grew up in a culture that the democracy has some good so tell me that my political agenda I think we have to understand the diaspora, we have to understand the youth and also the role of the diaspora especially because Lincoln my Jewish diaspora last time on العليا نيرة and I so my political Zionism was founded in the diaspora, not in Israel. So they helped establish Israel, right? The diaspora, how you get a low diaspora, economically, politically, human capital, all this. So the diaspora can take a money goodbye. هذا diaspora الفنا قلنا تزاربو أي جنزب $1 كتلقو self-state department كتوصي نمبر بزعلة Tigray commentating بالتخوين that's the حرة حاسبة you can't say that because I have my own opinion I can express my opinion. You can't into policy give a nice opinion. I can't, especially people who live in the West. So you can't سبات زيفال إذا يتبلغ كبالي كائن يتقرأ يتكلم نجار نحقينه حدنا زي قلت أخوين I think we have to listen each other. زي مسؤولكو أما أخل demand نجارو نجارات سربيلا كم توم finally what should we do first renegotiate and implementation of the pre-trial deal كم بحدش renegotiate مقبارن فتسامنت كمس كلنا بحضر مسرح هذا أدلائيو Tigray in real estate جباري actually Tigray was terminated but there's ongoing atrocity in Amhara right now right between Abiy and Amhara it's getting momentum actually internationally Amhara بزح سلامين سوات اللي قلت له أتومون سلازي زيادة أمسي ناب international كم بحدش لجنا ناب تيبل كمس خلينا Tigray issue and then as diaspora legislative advocacy ممكن نسرح تسبوي المخزي senators, congress members, and so legislative advocacy. Accountability begins at home, so we have to hold ourselves accountable also. Now, we also have to appoint right adlayu. Diaspora the principle based on principle, transparency, and good faith. For example. Some people are asking about accountability, about the resource, for example, resource mobilization. نعمل خطة millions of dollars أو كم زعتي في اللي we should know دول سواء حتى أقول له so you can't turn a blind eye and come معنا في نجار رديت سر الله زبد حتى له credible تقول نجار myself I met Mike Hammer the ambassador for the Horn of Africa in San Diego for 2 days we'll be there for 2 days we identified one of the questions حمتي سويتي تايل حيتاتو رديت هزبنا أي بس حنزل له why are you not giving us the aid, food? People are dying. And he said, it's being stolen. Of course, it could be, but there's evidence actually. Food and oil has been sold throughout Tigray shops. thousands of even men Tigray investigate Tigray. So هذا زي الخونة قد تزرب له الشيفان قال لا يمسدنا خلأي I think بربع درجة Tigray as a buffer zone لا ودا أخويا summarize a few seconds Tigray كم buffer zone يدما منقوي زوبا تبهر نقرأ له نابوليكا تنتنتي بزح زي buffer zone مالت أمحارا federal government and قالوا تنتواجع له Tigray is considered relatively كم neutral نقرأ توصل خزي active قرنت بتسيله هلا ما أخذنا زلنا buffer zone تكون له منقوي زوبا تكون لها leverage له بنسوز مسد على تاريخ فوق سبات I'm sure you know Mikhail Suhud was one of kingmaker leaders بهذا الله منقصاي مراحيز بهذا الموضوع الخوان نقدر تقبل له زين دحر غيرهم زي قبر يزول نيرو he was very smart I mean الإنسان على حسب كل خلقن تقرأي ونخزل له ما رح خزل لنا يخونات كم بفرزون كم مفانمتن هذا نقدر leverage المقبار preconditions of ميتنا بزح نقدر المقبار متخيل نيرو cause I think we have to build strong institutions not empower strong people زي إجزاء والكسبات مجاز منجاز قلامتها تزمريت كم culture تكالي يستكر institution build strong institution don't empower strong people so السويد have dictatorship لما تسوون السويد cause I think زي مسؤولكم قاعدينا بجلهم قلا متأخر طريقه حسب خنا قدم يقبع thank you very much
thank you إساس يغني لنا بتعمي ما بقى نتقالنا نزلنا حيزي دبلومات يوهانس كاو دكتور مهتمي كل تدقيقة أمبر كاونا عليك حزاكم إياه مسك إرتاع جزية بتعمل سلا وتتنا نتم عايشنا حالة وزد سلازنيه دبلومات يوهانس ياو أنتو بدم غير كاسلا ستنتن كايو كاب إساياس حيز حتصورنا زلون حفشاوي ناي دياسبرا زنيه رولون ناي تقراي زنيه كرايسيس حيز كما قلنا نحن متنو أما حصربيكا تتعاطورنا دسمرن يغني لك
غني لي ميكي نتوم زغركمون بولكع مو نقدميت بعد بزح حسابات يوم قريبهم زلو اب سفلالي مدرخاتون زغرو بزحات حسابات አለው እታ ሓንቲ ነገር ክንሕዛዝ ግበና ዝመስለኒ እቲ አልስንወሎ ብዝተፈላለየ መገዲ ንግለጾ እቲ ልዕሊ ህዝብና ዘሎ ፀገም ሓዝውን ኣሎ ብዝተወሰነ መልክዕ ዝተመሓየሸ ነገራት ኣሎ ናይ መሳርሕታት ድምፂ ጠጠው ኢሉሎ ኣብ مبزحتي تجراي in fact العسرة ميتاو زخون كبابتها تجراي حزونا بتحصلات يزولوس لزسون مولو سلام الله قبل لا نخلل تتساقم بلع الحزبنا حزونا له الحزب تدايسبورا انت هنا خنقبز قبلنا تخوناتا تغير له مالت كمتي المخلط عامز نبر درون ون مسارح النفسسة ميكس كوم بومباتات نتدربي خومي كونن زولو حزب تجراي ስለዚህ ተቀድሞ خليت عامز ዝነበረ ናይ አድቮኬሲ አካይዳና حزي مور عنتو ኤደን ተልዕል ነራ ናብ ኦፊስ ተጸግዐ behind the curtain ስርሑ ስራሕቲ ንሰርሐሉ ኩነታት ተቀይሩሉ حز ከም ተቀድሞ حز ዝነበረ ድሮፕ ፉድ ዝብል ነገር ጽሩሕ ሒዝና ክንወጻይ ንኽእል حز ምክንያቱ ኩነታት ንሱ ዝፈቅድ ስለ ዘይኮነ حز ማለት እዩ حز ክንብሎም ነገራት ኣለዎ تخنبلهم نخلهم نجارات كان كلها نتسمح معنا regardless of our political view affiliation كنبلهم نخلها نحدث جونا نجارات مريت تجراي حزون بسالات تتحيز له متحازو ترى انت كون سهون يقتل له إيرترا يوروب كناما معراب تجراينا بمبرق تجراي حزون سبب بسبب يقتلوا يشوه له أم حرا حزون مريت تجراي له with tacit approval of the central government ساتهم ندحر لهم كوينو بناتي إمند حدثو ممكن صربوهم يخول يوم سلازي يدلو إذا بريجر كنقبر نخل بريجر ما قبرون سممع وعد البريتوريا له نسو كندفق كنكيل لنا بركز بيلا ما حبر سلنا ميلا ينزغو تصار حزون كاب جزور حقو ኣብ ሸልተር ኣሎ ቤት ትምህርትታት ተምሃሮን ከይመሃሩ ዕንተውን ይለዓል እዩ እዚኦም ናብ ቦታኦም ንክምለሱ ዝብል ሕዚ እውን ኣፅኒዕና ክንገብር ክንክእል ክን ኣድቮኬት ክንገብር ክንክእል ኣለና ሓገዝ ኣይበፅሕን ዘሎና ማሕበረሰብና ብዝተወሰነ መልክዕ ዝተጀማመረ ነገር ኣሎ እቲ መብዛሕትኡ ማሕበረሰብና ሓገዝ ኣይበፅሕን ዘሎ ሓገዝ ንኸይበፅሕ ዝለዓሉ ምክንያታት ኣለዉ ይስረቕ ኣሎ ዝብል ይስረቕ ስለ ዘሎ መገድታት ተቐሚጡሎም ኣሎ ይናታቶም ናይ ሓገዝ ወሃብቲ ትካላት ሓገዝ ክሰርቕ እንተሎ ስታብሊሽ ዝኾነ ስርዓት ናይ በዓልቶም ስርዓት ኢንትሮዲዩስ ገይሮም ብናይ ባዕሎም ስርዓት ሓገዝ ከከፋፍሉ ዝኽእልሉ መስርሕ ኣለዎ እዚ ብትግራይ ተፈቒዱሎም ኣሎ ኣመራርሓ ትግራይ ፈቒዱሎም ኣሎ ነዚ እዚ ክንምግቶም ክንክእል ኣለና ንምንታይ ተሰሪቑ ኩላህና ሕማም ኣለና ግን ከዓ ስለ ዝተሰረቐ ነቲ ዝጠምን ዘሎ ዝሞት ዘሎ ደቆልዓ ግን ክውፃእ ስለ ዘይብሉ ክንምግት ክንክእል ኣለና ንሱ ሓደ ሒዝናዮ ክንከዝ ዝግበአና ንቅድሚት እዩ ኣብ ቀረባ መዓልትታት ሓዘንታዊ ነይሩ ከም ትፈልጥዎ ብርክት ዝበለ ማሕበረሰብና ሓጋዚ ዘይብሉ ጠዋሪ ዘይብሉ ስድራ ስው ኣለና እቲ ስድራ ስው ንሱ ኣብ መጀመርያ እውን ዶክተር ዘሩ የቕርብ ነይሩ ኣብ ሓደ ከባቢታት ዝተጀመሩ ኢኒሼቲቭስ ኣለዉ ሓደ ዳያስፖራን ሓደ ስድራ ስው ዝብል እዚኦም ንዕብዮም ኣብ ኩሉ ከባቢታት ንግበሮ ኣይነው እዚ ስለ ዝገበርና ነቲ ማሕበረሰብና ካብ ፀገም ክነናግፎ ኢና ማለት ኣይኮነን ግን ፔን ኣለዎ ሕዚ ከምቲ ናይ ሕክምና ሰብ ሞያ ትፈልጥዎ ፔን ይቐትል እዩ ነቲ ፔን ንሱ ንኸይቐትሎ ማሕበረሰብና እቲ ፔን ንሱ ሲድ ክገብር ዘኽእል ሓገዝ ንግበር ሕዚ ብቐፃሊ ከዓ ግን ነዊሕ ዝኾነ ባዕሉ ዝኽእለሉ መስርሕ ከዓ እናስራሕና ክንከይድ ኢና ማለት እሞ ኣብዘን ከባቢታት እዚኣተን ንዕሰል ድሓርቲ ኣካውንታቢሊቲ እናተባሃለ ዝነበረ ብሰፊሑ ተገሊጹ ኣሎ ኣብኡ እውን ክንሰርሖ ዝግበአና በብኸባቢና ተሓቢዮም ዝመፁ ወንጀል ዝፈፀሙ እንድሕር ሃልዮም ኮይኖም ኣብ ካናዳ ዝተጀመረ ኣሎ ኤብል ዝኾኑ ናይ ሕጊ ሰብ ሞያታት ኣለዉ ንሳቶም ዝጀመርዎ ኩነታት ኣሎ በብኸባቢኡ ወንጀል ፈፂሙ ብልዕሊ ትግራይ ጀኖሳይድ ፈፂሙ ኣብ ዘለናዮ ሃገር ዝኣተወ ሰብ እንድሕር ሃልዩ ኮይኑ ኮፍ ከይተብልዎ ኣብዚ ዝተጀመረ ነገር ኣሎ ኣብ ኩሉ ከባቢታት ከዓ ከምኡ ግበሩ ኤቪደንስ ኣቕሪብኩም ናብ ሕጊ ንኽቐርብ ክንገብር ክንክእል ኣለና ብሓፈሻ ከዓ ግን ተብልዕሊ ትግራይና ዝበፅሐ ጀኖሳይድ ክምርመር ክንሰርሕ ክንክእል ኣለና ዝብል እምነት ኣለኒ እሞ ደጊመ ኩላትኩም ኣብ ዝሓለፈ 3 ዓመት ናብራ ስራሕ ከይበልኩም ደኺምና ከይበልኩም ዝኩሉ ስራሕ ስራሕኩም መውፅኢቱ ዘመዝገበኩም ደቂ ትግራይ ሓበን ይግባኩም ክብል ይፈቱ ንኩላትኩም ዓብዩ ንእሱ ማለት እዩ ንቅድሚት እውን ግን ቃልስና ገና ይተዛዘመን ዘሎ ኣብ ዝተፈላለዩ መድረኻት እውን ክንራኸብ ኢና ከም ትኽእሉ ግዜ ንብሎ ትግራይ ትስዕር ሚኪ ይቀኒየለይ
Thank you ዲፕሎማት ዮሃንስ ኩልኩም ክቡራት ተጋይሽ ሎማዓንቲ ዝተካየደ ብትግርኛ ብእንግሊዝኛ መጀመርታ ቀፃላይና ሳልሳይ ዘንጊዕናዮም ብጣዕሚ ናይ እንግሊዝኛ ፓናል እዩ ዝሮ ግን እቲ መልእክቲ ነመሓላልፎ ዘለና ኣብ ዳያስፖራ ናብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ህዝብና ብሓደ ኮይና ክንቃለስ ጌጋና እናተናበብና ንክነስተኻኽል እቲ ናይ ስርቂ ተልዓለ መጨረሻ ሓንቲ ደቂቃ ክወስድ እየ ካብኡ ንሄለን ክባየ ስርቂ ልዕሊ 9% ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ፌደራል መንግስቲ እናሰረቀ ናብ ጎረቤት ሃገራት ከይዱ ከም ዝሸጦ እዚ እውን ውሽጥና ንመርምር ክትብሉ ሰሚዐ እዩ ሓደ ኢኹም ውሽጥና ክንመርምር ተኮይንና እቲ ፀላእ ዝገበሮ ኣይነስታውስን ዘለና ኣብ ውሽጥና ዝነበረ ፀገም ግን ደጋጊምና ነጋውሖ ኣለና እሞ ፌደራል መንግስቲ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ልዕሊ 9% ሰሪቁ ንጎረቤት ሃገራት ሸይጠ እዩ እናበለ በዓሉ ብሚድያ ወፂኡ ተዛሪቡ እዩ ሓደ ካልኣይ ናይ ኤርትራ ሰራዊት ብምዕራብ ኣከባቢ በዲያቦ ኣከባቢ ብራማ ኣከባቢ ብኻሊእ ቦታታት እውን ዝኣቱ ዝነበረ ተሰረቀ ዝነበረ ብፌደራል ናይ ኢትዮጵያ መንግስትን ብሻዕብያን ከምኡ እውን ብፋኖ እስካብ ሽረ ኣትዮም ናይ መጨረሻ ኩናት በተለይ ዝሰረቁዎ ስርቅታት እዚ እውን ክላቦ ትግራዋይ ክነቅሕ ኣለዎ እቶም ፀላእቲ ዝገበርዎ ክነድዑ ኣለና ልዕሊ 9% ብፀላእቲ ተሰሪቁ ኣብ ውሽጥና እውን ኣብ ናይ መጨረሻ እውን ነይሮም እዮም ተጋሩ ኮይኖም ህዝብና ዘጨፍጨፉ ምስቲ ፌደራል ኮይኖም እናሰርሑ ኣብቲ ስርቂ ተሳተፉ እዚኦም እውን ንሕና ክነጋውሖን ክንቃለሰለኹም ከለና ብፀላእትና ተገበረ ንድሕሪት እናረሳዕና ኣብ ውሽጥና ዘሎ ፀገም ግን ኩሉ ግዜ ወቀስቲ ስለንኸውን ስለዝመስለኒ ዘሎ ምናልባት እዚ መልሲ ኣይኮነን ግን ኣይ ቲንክ ተዳጋጊማ ስለዝሰማዕዛ ነገር እዚኣ ናይ ፀላእትና ስርቂ ናባና ኣይነዝሮየመና ልክዕ ኣብ ውሽጥና ዘለው ዝግዕዚና ዝሰርሑ ዝሰረቁ ነትወርክ ዝፈጠሩ እዚ እውን ክነስተኻኽሎ ብሓደ ስርዓታዊ ዘለዎ ከይድ ክንከይድ የድልየና እዩ TMH ካልኦት ሚድያታት እውን ዘመሓላልፋልና እዚ የቀኒየልና ኩልኩም ተሳቲፍኩም እዚኡ ብትግርኛ መልእክቲ ዘመሓላለፍኩሞ ንህዝብና ክብረት ይሃበልና እናበልኩ ኤለን ሓፍተይ ምስ ይቅርታ ምስ ተጋይሽኪ ማይክ ናባኺ የመሓላልፍ ኣለኹ
Thank you,
Dr.
Mickey. Thank you so much, Mickey, and our panelists, and for our guests who came for the mental health segment. We really do immersely apologize, but this has been a difficult 3 years, as you already know. So we appreciate your time. Helena is going to be leading our mental health panelists. Helena, take it away, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adenua. Dr. Aragawi, are you still with us? Just give him a moment to rejoin. Okay, he will join us when he can. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Helena Tadessa. I welcome our viewers to another profoundly significant segment within our panel as we observe this third anniversary of the Tigray genocide, an event that has undoubtedly and incredibly marked our hearts and our minds, our whole community. I want to, of course, thank our organizers for this space, very much needed space, and also our panelists who are sort of your usual suspects. These are the people, some of the people I should say, working hard day in, day night. It's not unheard of to see them taking time out of their Sundays to do panels like this to make sure that our community is well informed, to hit on those topics that are so necessary for our both mental health and which informs our advocacy, which informs our physical health, which informs it all. Before I continue, in order for me to be complete about this very, very important panel, I want to really recognize these two human beings I'm so excited for you to hear from today. Professor Diaz and Dr. Aragawi Girmay have joined us today, and they've been so patient. The last segment was an hour later than we'd anticipated, and I'm in the background asking Danny, asking Mickey, and speaking with them, and these gentlemen are telling me, we've made time. So I am a nervous wreck because I want to respect their times, but I also want to make sure that we as a culture are beginning to take mental health as seriously as really we must in order to survive, in order to ensure the never again. A lot of times in segments, it feels like it might be like the throwaway thing. And when we have time, there's mental health. But it's almost shocking because I can't wait for them to tell you how seriously our communities within Tigray take mental health. And perhaps it's because we have that vicarious but indirect trauma, even though we are also dealing with our own trauma here. But it's just my thought, my frame of thought that because in Tigray, they were there, they saw their neighbors going through it, even if they as individuals cannot maybe admit it, that they, perhaps our families are able to take mental health as seriously as, again, most of us know it needs to be taken. So having said that, thank you for indulging me. I want to welcome today an amazing mental health professional, Professor Diaz, has worked with HPN for Tigray for 3 years yesterday and today, creating curriculum, psychosocial education curriculum that's been utilized in the refugee camps in Sudan that is being adapted to also assist within Tigray, and has just recently returned from providing training to the Mariam Dingalet community. Of course, we cannot forget on November 30th, 2020, the heartbreaking massacre that affected so many and still continues to affect so many. So I'm really excited to just to have the chance for us to hear from him, his first hand account. And also, I'm also joined in this segment by Dr. Aragawi, who is a physician here in the US and has committed himself to mental health for the youth in Tigray, and has initiated an initiative to, with collaboration with Haki Foundation, to bring mental health curriculum into schools. So again, just could not wait to have these two gentlemen on so that you can hear it from them. Without further ado, I'd love to give the gentlemen an opportunity to just, introduce themselves, and then we can get right into it.
Please, Doctor, you first.
Oh, you first, Dr. You've been working extensively, so I wanted to hear from you, and I really like to learn a lot from you too.
Well, that's a very typical Tigray response in terms of me. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I'll just go first then, but I wanted to respect you by having you go first. Yes, thank you. My name is Brent, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. I won't spend too long on the introduction. Helena has already shared a lot. I am a trauma therapist for refugees and newcomers to Canada. I'm based out of Canada in the Toronto area. And so I work with all kinds of different people from war-torn populations and other places that are, going through a lot. And so that's what I do every day for my work. I'm also a university professor at a couple of universities here in the Toronto area, teaching various courses on mental health, aspects of mental health, basically in social work. And I know we'll get into it in a couple of minutes, but I also just came back less than a month ago. A month ago right now, I was providing that training actually that Helena was talking about. So I was in Tigray, in Adigrat, and Mekele. I know I don't say that properly, so I apologize. I haven't quite mastered many Tigrinian words, but salam, I do know that, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Dr. Aragawi, if you can unmute yourself, please. Oh, Dr. Aragawi, you're muted. Sorry. It's okay.
Thank you, Helena. And I'd like to also thank the organizers of this event. And I'm Aragai Gurmai, and I'm a family physician practicing medicine in North Carolina. And I work in a federally qualified health center, which provides primary care to immigrants, people who are uninsured, and people who don't have access to healthcare. And our program is very innovative and integrates family medicine with mental health. And I have a direct experience with behavioral counselors on my day-to-day activity.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. Within advocacy, it's very easy to see the parallels. Lack of mental health can mean a lack of longevity or stamina in advocacy itself. Our bodies break down, our minds can be in crisis. Just the mere notion of not understanding what our people are going through on the ground, or not knowing how they're being helped. And so there is a movement that we're hoping everybody just jumps on the bandwagon, that seeing mental health as part of advocacy, not just advocacy for our people, but also an advocacy for ourselves in order to continue this, what must now be a long-term and sustaining advocacy. Having said that, Professor Diaz, I would love for you to begin by sharing your experience in your Tigray trip, and we will continue on to make those parallels between your experiences and just in general, how you've been operating within the Tigray community, your new welcomed community, with Dr. Aragawi's initiative, as yours is for the adults. His is focused on our youth and our children. And we do believe if you stay tuned and really engage in this conversation as we're looking at the live chats, part of that anxiety that we all seem to have because of the not knowing will be a little bit more alleviated than when we started the program. Brent, what was your experience like?
Wow, it's almost like, how much time do I have to share here, right? I could easily spend hours, of course, talking about my experience in Tigray. It was profound, of course, having worked with you all, HPN for Tigray, and other folks kind of connected to the community for the last 3 years during this whole crisis. It was surreal and incredible. Just the moment that I remember really just pausing as I was walking down the stairs of the plane in Mekele when I finally arrived in Tigray, I was like, wow, I'm here. I remember what it was like for you all, not having contact with your family members there. Internet was down, no power. And of course, now I've heard all of the stories of what it was like to live through that from the people who were there. But it was a really, really profound, moving moment for me to actually be there and to think, wow, like I get to do this. Like I get to be the one who gets to come so early in this healing process to help. Yeah, it's just striking. I mean, what could I tell you, really? I mean, of course, initial impressions are things like just the beauty of the people, the beauty of the culture, the beauty of the land. All those things really struck me. The kindness of people, the hospitality, of course, very, very famous, I think, Tigray hospitality. Yeah, all of those things really, really struck me. But of course, at the same time, there was a really deep, and I might be kind of blurring even sort of other questions you might be asking, but I'll just say it quickly, a really deep sense that the people were suffering there, that people are struggling. Now they're living their daily lives, they're opening their shops, they're shopping, they're doing all the things that they need to do. So there is a sense of normalcy, so to speak, but underneath the surface, or even kind of right there in your face, actually, there's a lot of sadness and mourning that's going on. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but really just a profoundly moving time. I had the chance to go to Mariam Bengalat as well, the actual location where the massacre happened. I was even shown, I'm the first outsider to be shown the graves, the mass graves that were created or that were organized for the people who suffered at the hands of the perpetrators of this massacre. To me, that's incredible, like in a sad way, like in a terrible way, that I should be the first one to see that, like so long after it happened, almost 3 years now. But nevertheless, yeah, so not only did I have that experience, but I also had the experience of just seeing the beauty of the place and how special it really is, right? The church up high up in the cliff and all of those kinds of things. So it was kind of like one of those trips, right? Where there'd be like those moments of like, wow, Tigrayans are really cool. Like they're really awesome people. And wow, they're suffering so much. There's so much going on here. There's so much work that needs to be done. So also, I wanted to say, I should have said this in my introduction. I just wanted to just extend my support, my love to you all during this time. All of the viewers, all of the people on this call, anybody who might be watching this who has loved ones in Tigray, who you've lost people, you've been impacted personally, maybe you've been injured in one way or another. If you're tuning in from Tigray itself, just want to extend, my heart to you all, and my love and my thoughts and my prayers for you as you mark this third year now of anniversary of what's happened. And of course, we know things are still happening, right? So we know the work is far from over, but just wanted to just share that with you as well.
Absolutely. And it's worth mentioning that Brent was able to go to the accessible part of Tigray. Of course, Western Tigray is still inaccessible, not just to everyday people, but to those who desperately need to get aid in. It is still occupied by Amhara militia, and a vast majority of Tigray is safe to say still desperately needs aid that from a lack that was caused by the complete siege. And so when we say people are going through their sort of daily lives, we are speaking about the areas that Brent was able to access. And thank you for your words, Brent. No, absolutely. I just wanted to make that note because we're speaking with an already knowledgeable audience, and I wonder if somebody who's maybe even hearing about this for the first time tunes in. Now, having said that, what do you find? Let me back up and ask, what was your training focused on? I know it was focused on adults, and who was the primary focus? And then what were the pressing needs that you found during that training period?
Yes, yeah, good question, right? What is he doing in Tigray anyway? Yeah, so I was invited. It's kind of a long story, so I'll try to shorten it. I was invited by, there's an archaeologist who does work in actually the Mariam Bengalat area, a Canadian archaeologist who works at a Canadian university. And she's been going, to Tigray 2 or 3 times a year now for like 20 years, right? Doing archaeological work, all the ancient sites, the churches, things like that, right? And so she thought, well, okay, it's all great for me to go and, to collect pottery and things like that. But she, of course, recognizes the trauma that's happened there. So she thought, well, why don't I bring some kind of team together, pull some people together to see if we can offer some kind of healing project somehow. And she wasn't really sure. She's an archaeologist, so she didn't really know what she was looking for, but she kind of had some ideas and she spread it through her networks. There's someone named Joanne Hodges, some of you might know. She helped to kind of actually be the one to actually connect me with this archaeologist professor. And then she also had some contacts on the ground in Tigray. And so we pulled together a little team of us, and together we created a training. And the idea was that we would invite the leaders of Miriam Dengalat, the people who have direct influence on the community members. And so we had priests there. It was an Orthodox priest, so a very, very devout community of people there. From what I've noticed, we have some teachers from the school there. We had some social workers from the general area, and we had the administrative leaders. I'm not really sure what the titles are, but I was told it was kind of like the mayor and some of the workers on those levels of Miriam Dengalat. So they all gathered together, 56 of them in total, to basically learn about some trauma intervention principles, learn about trauma, learn about mental health, and what to do, how to help people. Because, like I said, these people are the ones who have the direct contact with the people of Miriam Dengalat, whether it be the priests in their work, their very, very intimate work with families, or whether it be the teachers who are working with their children on a day-to-day basis, right, of course, or, whoever. These people had that direct influence. And so, so basically the idea was that we would offer some trauma intervention, trauma healing principles, and share them with the priests, share them with the other leaders in the community, so that they can then have this information and combine it or work with it within their own cultural context and with their own ideas that they already have about healing, right? So it wasn't really at all me saying, oh, the priests are doing this wrong. I didn't even know exactly what they were doing to begin with, right? It was just, here, this is what we know. This is the stuff that works for me with the clients I work with who come from similar areas of the world, in terms of war and genocide. Is this helpful for you? And then they could kind of take it and then integrate it and apply it to the work they do with the people. So, and early reports, I know it's early, like I said, a month ago, literally today, actually a month ago today I landed. So I lied earlier. The training hadn't started quite yet a month ago, but about a month ago, the training happened. But I'm hearing early reports from our contacts on the ground there that it really has affected the priest's views of how to work with some of these pieces, and the other leaders too. And it has really helped them. Another thing too, and this is kind of blended to that next question that you asked, is that everybody at the training, some of them were at the massacre, some of them were there present, including the main contact. His name is Hagos. The main contact of who kind of organized everything. He was there. He was a witness to everything happening, right? And everybody in that room, even if they weren't quite there, everybody has lost someone, right? And so this is one of the things that struck me about, in terms of mental health needs, and this is no surprise to you, but being an outsider, right, coming in, just the amount of people, everybody has a story of someone that they've lost. Everybody's been impacted by this. This is a different kind of a war, genocide. I've done extensive work with people from Ukraine, for instance, and there's a lot of them. They live in a part of Ukraine where, yes, there's been missile attacks, but and as terrible and awful as that is, it's not like everybody has stories of people they've lost, or they're able to kind of live day to day still. There's people getting married, there's people graduating from school. They haven't had the same interruption in some parts of Ukraine has happened all throughout all of Tigray. And again, I was in the part that now is relatively, is more stable, right? I can't imagine what it's like in the West.
Right, and of course, this is why we term it correctly that it is a genocide, as various panel members from our advocacy panel eloquently put. All the hallmarks of a genocide are there, and just because the international community chooses to call it ethnic cleansing or call it a conflict, does not make it a genocide. And
right.
That's what I'm hearing you say, that because an entire ethnic minority is being targeted, then you have all of these people that have experiences to share. Now, what's so incredibly, I don't want to say a throwaway term, so inspiring, but it's almost shocking to me, is that while they're enduring their own traumas, they are ready to receive training so that they can help their community. Did you, having religious leaders, and I'd love for you to speak to their receptiveness because of, conversations I've had with you already. I just think it's really so worth understanding as the diaspora still getting used to sort of accepting the need for mental health. Would love for you to just help us understand your experience of the receptiveness of our people.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. The priests were, okay, I'm just going to actually backtrack 1 second too. In terms of like my point that I was trying to make, I'm not sure if I'm clear, is earlier in terms about the pervasiveness of everything that's happened. It's not just that people were saying, oh yeah, we're suffering, we've lost our loved ones, which is what they were saying too, but they were also saying, we're suffering, we feel it, we need help. You need more, we need to bring more people next time. You have to come back and you have to bring more people to help us, whether they're diaspora people or, like professionals like many people on this call, or other people who aren't from the diaspora like yourself or whatever, right? So there's like a real need and a real hunger to address mental health, and so, yeah, I thought it was incredibly amazing. Maybe I was a little naive going into, I don't know what exactly I was expecting going into this trip, but I thought once I realized, okay, these priests they were there, they were witnesses, right? They lost loved ones. Some of them lost, family members, even in that massacre. The fact that they were willing, just as you said, to sit and listen to someone like me was incredible. You have to envision that I am surrounded by, I don't know how many priests were in that 56 group of people. There was a lot. They were a good chunk of the people, maybe the majority of the group, dressed in their robes with the beards and everything, the canes, right? And many of them older men, very, very wise, very esteemed, like high up, really respected leaders in that community. And they were willing to listen to me. And even have some of their views on mental health and how to treat mental health, how to work with mental health challenged. And not only that, but also admitting their own trauma symptoms and their own, the way they think they've been impacted by everything that's happened. It was really profound and really amazing. I was kind of surprised. I was ready to be challenged at every time that they had to put their hand up to ask a question or to give a statement, because I thought maybe they were just going to disagree with me or say, this isn't helpful. Like I was waiting for that. And it never happened. They were always so humble, so open. And for instance, they would talk about things like, the topic of addiction came up. And, I basically said something like, in order, like we have to understand that people will be struggling with substances like alcohol, for instance, because they're trying to deal with their trauma symptoms, which the priests got to learn about and had some fluency of talking about after the training, right? And so they're like, oh, okay, so we shouldn't be judging these guys and like outcasting them, but we should be bringing them in, being understanding, being loving and caring for them, and maybe asking what it is they're trying to accomplish with their substance use and what's happening there for them, right? So like a real challenge to the stigma of a lot of these pieces of mental health were happening in that room. That was really amazing. Another big one that I'm sure we'll talk about in a few minutes is gender-based violence. And even just the response to that, there's, as you all, I'm sure, way more aware than I am, an incredible stigma against the victims of gender-based violence, which is really unfair, of course, right? And the priests, some of them are like, you know what? I think that I've been a part of that stigma. I need to change that. Okay, now I understand when I have a woman coming to me saying this has happened to her, I have to be open. I have to be willing to love her and help her to feel restored and help her to heal, rather than kind of casting her out of the community, which is what I might have done in the past. So the priest, it was really amazing, and I was surprised. I don't think Well, I shouldn't say something like that. I was going to say, I don't know if our religious leaders here, for instance, like various faiths or whatever, would be as humble and open to learning and to even having their views challenged as the priests were in Miriam Dangalad. It might be a reflection of the amazing culture, which I honestly do, really appreciate just having been there. But it also might be, they've been through this terrible genocidal war, and they're open to hearing what they can do to help. So yeah, incredible.
Seeing is believing, right? And I'm just so humbled by everything you said. I'm so proud of our people for allowing the change of minds and hearts to happen, because you have to, it feels like you have to allow for that transformation to happen in order to even just take in this information. And as we've identified, again, working with you through HPN for Tigray and, our just commitment to mental health, seeping in through every and any initiative that we could possibly have it get through, is that when you are trying to change hearts and minds of any community where mental health was never the main focus, and I think there's a lot of those communities. I don't think, I don't think our community is singular in that, but going through, loosely say gatekeepers, the people which that community respects and honors and listens to and is influenced by. I think if we're in America, I would say Instagram influencers, or for some communities also religious leaders, but it's easy to pinpoint. And as you mentioned at the top of this, for us, it's definitely religious leaders, no matter what religion. If you're, Christian, Muslim, whomever it is, teachers, these are, have all, historically been that for our community. So, and I love hearing that. As we transition to talking about our youth-focused mental health initiatives, from our conversation last, I remember you saying you were also really shocked by the amount of shares that you had of, and again, we're talking about very sensitive topics. And I think at the end of our advocacy conversation, it was mentioned, we talk about these horrific things that happen because it happened to our people, and it has to be spoken. I also hope we do get to a point where we are sensitive when we're talking about it, because I believe for 3 years straight, we've been on this emergency go, where it's part of speaking truth to power, naming all of these traumatizing things that have happened to our women, our men, our children. And now, we're still in emergency in some respects, in many respects, but we're also transitioning towards long-term advocacy and more sustainable ways of doing what we've been doing, like hardcore for 3 years. I'm hoping we find a balance in speaking those potentially traumatizing facts when we're speaking with one another. But I have to say, you mentioned in our conversation that you were hearing so many stories of not just old sexual violence, right? But also newer cases since the agreement. And can you, close out this portion, perhaps touching on, because again, it's a big question, but how could that be? How can this be when many in our community maybe think it's peace now? How could our people be, do you know what I mean? This is a time where an already vulnerable population mass vulnerable population be safe or feeling safe. But as you talked about the stigmatization from lack of understanding, could you touch on why it is not abnormal, unfortunately, that there are occurrences of this, even mass occurrences of this type of, I just want to say, horror.
Yeah, violence. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, just to confirm everything you said, just so people can hear it from me, I was actually surprised. Most of my work is around sexual trauma, so it's not like I'm not some big expert or anything, but like it's what I've been doing now for goodness, years and years and years, right? Definitely over a decade in the field, decade and a half, something like that. So, so when I'm saying like, wow, I'm surprised by the amount of stories that I'm hearing and the demand for services that there is around gender-based violence, sexual violence, particularly towards women, some as well towards men, but particularly towards women, like it hopefully there's a bit of weight to that, right? Because it was surprising. Like I knew, like we had talked about it even, during the previous 3 years, just everything that had been going on and the vulnerability, and we heard awful stories and accounts of what happened during the time of conflict. But yes, even now post-agreement, even in places like Mekelle and Adigrat, where things are again relatively stable, it does continue, and it's not the outside forces, the perpetrators of the genocide, right? And so, I mean, I didn't really, to be honest with you, I didn't get into talking to people. Like I didn't talk to perpetrators or anything to ask, why are you doing this? So it's just theoretical at this point. I mean, we know what happens unfortunately, through other cultural groups when they've gone through genocide, that sometimes things kind of break down, right? And people who are vulnerable or people within the community start kind of attacking each other. So there might be something like that happening. Again, it's just a theory. Also, of course, as you know, many people have been left very vulnerable after this war, of course, after this genocide. And so you have people living in the IDP camps, which I had a chance to go to. Like I can't remember what it's called, but the big one outside of Mekelle, 20,000 plus people living in tents from Western Tigray, right, living there. And I just heard they're going to be there for another 6 months to a year, just because things are not stable yet. And so there's a lot of women living in these tents who are very vulnerable, right? And so that might be part of the issue too. So it's a big, it's definitely a big issue. It's a common theme that I've heard of. And there is a demand for services. I've had the chance to go to the One Stop Center in Mekelle, the big hospital, the big teaching hospital that they have there. And they're saying that they're busy. They're open 24/7 and they have 10 workers and it's not enough. And there need to be more services for that particular issue. Absolutely. So that's a big theme.
Even so, the one-stop centers, it's good to clarify for anyone who may not. Right. So you have hospitals and you have clinics, and one-stop centers are under both, for lack of a better term. So these are for emergencies, maybe urgent care-ish, but not really. But we're not talking about extensively. But we're not talking about mental health professional in every space. So when you say support, we're talking about support from mental health professionals outside or as well as within, which we know there's a major shortage of mental health professionals, right? Although there are some incredible people trying to, mass train and do anything and everything possible, but this is an opportunity. We're calling on any, community members, allies who are now community members. If you are in the mental health, field, profession, this is your opportunity. If you've been wondering, right, what can I do? How can I do this remotely? We have proof that, peer-to-peer or even support through psychosocial curriculums or just support so that when a case is being escalated post-training, because when so this is an all call. To sum it up, what I'm hearing you say is you have a very capable and open society understanding the disadvantage that the genocide, obviously, that has been perpetrated onto it. And so, but you have receptive folks who are ready to receive training and asking for it, but also support in helping those who, within their community.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. The call is out. Yeah, people are, there's a desire. And like you even said, even if it's peer-to-peer support, if you're a mental health worker and you're like, I'm not an expert, but you can provide maybe through online, Zoom calls or something, just peer consultation about stuff, just to support those workers who are already there. There's a role for everybody. There's no lack of a need. That's for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to come back to what this translates and how mental health, access and support from the mental health aspect means within the diaspora. We'll break off and speak with Dr. Aragawi and ask him how his initiative, very exciting, is going, what it is, and how you can be a part of. And we'll be right back to you, Professor Diaz. Dr. Aragawi, can you tell us a little bit about the initiative, how it was sparked and who's involved?
Thank you, Elena. Well, really, Dr. Diaz just inspired me to do even more, because it's, I'm here at Tigray, I'm sitting in America, and my people are going through these horrendous things that I think the call is really valid call, and not only involving myself, probably I can, ask my friends to be part of this big problem. Thank you, Dr. Diaz, for all the good works you did for our people. Really, you're an inspirational. I was really, really impressed by what you've done to the people of Tigray, and your work is just an incredible work, but we should emulate from you. Having said that, actually, I'm a part of a group which is an alumni association. I went to school in Ethiopia in my younger years. I went to high school, elementary, and juniors at Johannes. And it's one of the historical schools in Tigray. And in the 2000, at the beginning of 2000, got together with my fellow alumni and organized this alumni association. And we've been in support of the school since 2002, 2001. And actually, we built a modern library, digital library, and we try to also help the school in some areas where we can make any difference. One of the areas we did was that bathroom for girls was needed one of the time, because we thought that the dropout was related to lack of bathroom, the separate girls' bathroom, and we built a girls' bathroom in the school, and we empowered the girls to protect the bathroom. And we did such activities at our alma mater. Then this past summer, we got together, and we were really talking about the post-war reconstruction, and the members doing some brainstorming, and then two things came. One was food insecurity in school. The other was mental health. And I'm a family physician, but I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm the closest person out of the group to really deal with mental health. And I say, let me take this issues, but the mental health issue, I took that and did kind of a online research with my daughter, who is a public health student. And we look at mental health status in post-conflict situations. So we looked the experience from Rwanda, and then Uganda also, because of the warfare that many of the kids were involved in the war, Sierra Leone, and then we look at other hotspots in the world. And there was an area where, post-conflict mental health intervention, what we saw in that search was that in the post-war reconstruction, mental health is not that hot. It was not given attention to mental health. effort. So this stimulated me, and then I looked particularly on the school-based intervention, and I went through data and that training teachers as a professional counselor was the key to intervene in schools. So we came with this idea, and I wrote a concept paper, and one of our members went to Tigray in early summer, I believe it is in July, and took that paper and shared it with our stakeholders at Johannes. And this was shared with people from Hockey. And then actually they were very impressed about that concept and really jumped to participate in this endeavor. Since then, we were doing several Zoom meetings with Hockey Foundation, and we were able to create the core curriculum for training paraprofessional counselors. And we trained about 150 teachers, and I think on the beginning of September. We had really a wide local media coverage for that, and people were really happy to see that kind of initiatives, and then some of them even asked us to spread this to other schools. And then, well, we told them this is going to be a pilot project, and if this pilot project works, there are about 1.5 to 2 million children in Tigray who are school-based. So our ultimate goal is to reach this about 2 million children in Tigray if this pilot project is successful. We told them we're going to let this pilot project go, and we'll learn the strengths and weaknesses of this project, and then we will come with a report, and then we'll provide the report to stakeholders, and then from there we'll go. So that was the situation. And really, this morning I had a meeting with the Hockey Foundation. We really so on the training we divided the phase into two phases. So the phase one was to train these teachers based on the trauma-informed care, psychological first aid, mediation, and just resilience training to the skills. So this is the basis of our training. Then on the second level of our training, we're going to train teachers to form clubs, school-based clubs, and through these clubs, we could do like group therapy and other activities, like, we wanted to do drama, storytelling, dance, all these kind of body movements. So we've seen from other activities, these structured programs has shown stability and safety, especially for trauma victims. So this is where we are today, and I'm glad we tried. But what Dr. Diaz said is really just this, we wanted to really encourage other groups to come and join us and collaborate with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Amazing. What excites me about this is because it's not going into the schools, infiltrating the time and space. The kids are used to playing or having these clubs, the time for their clubs, but you're meeting them halfway. You're meeting them in ways that they love to spend the time. So as they say here in America, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Very much worth just talking about. Hockey Foundation is an organization incepted within Tigray, very cutting edge in the way that they are providing mental health access and support. They are the first nonprofit, of course, or they are a nonprofit within Tigray. They are the first within the entirety of Ethiopia to offer a hotline for mental health assistance, or if here we call them crisis hotlines, or crisis hotlines, but there it's there's a number, call, talk about your what you're dealing with, and then of course there's a referral if it needs to be escalated and so on. If you look into them, it's spelled HAQI.org, O-R-G, and they really focus on care for caregivers, meaning who's the caregiver, teachers, doctors, health professionals of all kinds. They actually have, Haki Foundation has this incredibly well put together data research paper, I should say, of how the genocide perpetrated on the people of Tigray, specifically on teachers and healthcare professionals, has impacted their mental wellness. So I really invite you and really challenge you to check that out. They also focus on road to recovery, sustainable support. So what a perfect organization to be in collaboration with for this. And Dr. Aragawi, you mentioned there.
I have a question here for them.
Oh, sorry, somebody is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really excited to take questions as well. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure Dr. Aragawi gets an opportunity to get all the information out. Dr. Tega, I'm excited to hear your question. Dr. Aragawi, you mentioned there is how many teachers were you able to train, and what would it take to put on a training like that? What kind of support from the diaspora, from us, would it take to allow for more trainings like that?
Well, so as proposed that teachers as counselors, the school administration took this initiative into heart and then spread the news and information to teachers, and they were able to get about 150 volunteers to participate in this 3 days training. And the training required a place to train, which we had to pay for that. And then the material that was needed for the training. And then of course, we had to provide meals to the trainee and to the trainers. And so there was a cost involved, and AYA provided that cost. That was one of the exciting things that AYA, when I proposed this idea to the board, to the AYA board, number one, the initiative was so easy and understood by everybody. So it was very easy for the board to convince that this initiative is worth funding. And moving forward, the board funded with no question, and then the money was completely forwarded, and Haki Foundation really were excited about this cooperation, this collaboration. So we were able to train 150 teachers. And they said on the second phase, they have 20 teachers, they call them the champions. These are people who are gonna be involved in training, they would be involved in counseling. So they will get further training. And this, then on the second phase of the training, it is going to require probably, they say about 10,000, even could be more than that, 10,000 US dollars. So it could be more than that, but just as of today, preliminarily about $10,000. So just from the first initiative, from the first training to the second, it's about $20,000 total. So AYA is able to fund those 2 phases of the training, but the need for financial assistance is so huge. And we call all Tigray lovers, they will have a chance to make a difference and donate money. As a matter of fact, we're just trying to, myself, I ran a marathon, and I wanted to run a Tokyo Marathon carrying this issue of mental health. And this marathon running is going to do 2 things. One, we're going to create an awareness of mental health in schools and children. And the other is to try to raise funds for this project.
Amazing. AYA stands for?
Okay. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
You're an alumnus of As Johannes. We actually have in this conversation several alumni
I know.
and this is really a direct all call for As Johannes. And I hear about this beautiful school as I was growing up, probably all my life, if I never heard about, Maqale University, As Johannes, school. So this is an all call for As Johannes alumni around the world. So AYA stands for?
As Johannes Alumni Association.
As Johannes Alumni Association, you heard it. So heed the call, and I'm thinking, because you are in collaboration with Foundation, when it's time for the marathon to put funds towards sponsoring the marathon or for this, where can people find how to sponsor?
Actually, we're in a process to create a GoFundMe page, and we're gonna try to. Actually, this is my second experience in marathon. I did run London to raise money for the girls' bathroom and a STEM program at Johannes. So this one probably we're just hoping to raise more funds, because there are two issues: children and mental health. And we're hoping to raise the awareness and then raise also the fund for the project, which is much needed.
Of course, we can all agree some of the most devastating images, when images began to come out of the country about Tigray, everything hurt, especially images and conversations around children, the youth of Tigray, because internationally, the youth are the future, right? And it just felt like, and it was, that as part of the genocide, trying to strip us of our past, with our, the wisest, falling first because of lack of medication, and then of course the hunger, of course, and then the attempt of stripping us of our future through destabilization of our youth, from the IDPs not being able to go home, for lack of education for 3 years. Pretty incredible the strides our people are making with trying their best to return to school now, and so on and so on. But this speaks to someone out there. And as our brother Simon was talking about earlier, when we talk about why aren't Tagaros showing up like we were at the beginning, when it was, I'm sure, the initial trauma of it all, and I don't like to throw that word around, but it just feels so clear. Nobody knew what was happening or what we could do to help. So it was that response to just, and then now, I don't know if something is wrong. It feels like people maybe feel overextended or don't know where to go. He also mentioned different organizations sprouting up, which I think maybe you both can agree is a very positive thing, because now there's an array of possibility for people with different interests. So if education is your thing, here is, the As Johannes organization, HBS, with Dr. Mizgabu and Shoit and the gang, that broadcast, amazing content. Even we'll be getting content on mental health from HPN. We've got GSTS, that's been around for so long, and they focus on the politics of it. You've got Asmalash Grant Foundation that focuses on food aid. You've got, it just goes on and on, TDRF. You've got, right? So Legacy Tigray with our Haftana Edu here, they're at the forefront of our digital advocacy. I don't want to leave anybody out. SJT, how could I forget, our host of this amazing panel, and always really at the forefront of all the petitions, the letters. From the onset of this devastating situation, I just always remember SJT showing us the route to what it looks like to be able to sign on these important documents as organizations, not just we wrote this and we're presenting this, but we wrote this and all of these people are presenting this. it's an array of possibilities for more sustainable advocacy. So I won't get on my soapbox. I desperately want to take Dr. Tekka's question, and then we'll start sort of wrapping up. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. We're coming upon our hour, but Dr. Tekka, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Helena. Thank you so much for preparing this program and bringing this two wonderful people. And I am so excited, to be honest, Dr. Girma and Dr. Brad. Thank you so much for helping our people back home. And I've heard so much about Dr. Girma. I'm glad I see you. And please do that and continue to do that. Mine was not that question, difficult question. Mine was just like, we are so many healthcare professionals here in US and everywhere else, and we have no clue how to start, how to do things back home. So this, I know you guys are training a lot of people back home, which is very, very important, but can you organize, we can organize all these healthcare professionals here, back here, then, you know, you can tell us in half an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, you know, how to search problems back home, how to connect with those needs. And most of us, we have no clue, to be honest with you. So whatever you guys doing in Aya, I mean, Danny is one of them here too. He's been telling me about this. It's really, really wonderful things that you guys are doing back home. But especially with this Tigray genocide, there are so many healthcare professionals that they wanted to do things, but, you know, it's not, you know, train them how to do the things, but give them the information, how they can reach back home. What is the thing that they can do, how they want to start it. I think this is very important. It's not a question. I'm just asking you guys if you can prepare this program, and then, you know, we all also can invite our friends and different professionals, from nurses, pharmacists, doctors, PA. We have so many healthcare professionals that they wanted to help Tigray. So please do that and let me know. And
I have something to say, believe it or not.
I would be very happy to do that. Thank you so much.
That's the most welcomed thing I've heard in a very long time, because guess what? You know, we were talking about all the different organizations, SJT, everyone, Omna, I don't want to forget Omna, pretty incredible folks, been at it since the beginning as well. And I'm sure I've forgotten others. Please forgive me again. Dr. Tekka, I want to tell you, not just because I am one of the program managers at HPN for Tigray, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm biased. And the truth is, we've been focused on mental health for so long, while creating our mission that's been, you know, at the forefront, mind, body, and soul, sort of, you know, a holistic intervention or a holistic solution, or support, I should say. There's solutions, you know, holistic support. So HPN for Tigray stands for Health Professionals Network for Tigray. It's completely made up of, there is a portion, of course, health professionals, but also people from all walks of life. But one of our main focuses is human resource mobilization, medical and all around health professionals heading to Tigray. We have our pilot trip in January. So I don't know if you expected to hear a date, a time, and a place, but I got it for you. So if you're a health professional or any kind of a mental health professional or any kind of health professional, and you've never heard of HPN for Tigray, then I'm happy to bring this great news. We're calling out to anyone and everyone who may want to go, who may just want to share resources, who may want to join one of our many programs, such as Women and Children. We team up with ECDC and have a wellness center there that has various programming happening there, where Professor Diaz's collaborated mental health curriculum is being given to children and adults. We have communications team that handles our advocacy to the world, letting people know, don't forget Tigray, this is the continued needs, and many, many more fundraising teams. So many teams that you can be part of, but for the health professionals of every facet, please come and register in. Because if it's not you going, maybe you have a colleague, like Dr. Aragawi said, he's inspired by Professor Diaz to bring along. Maybe you have a network. Not too long ago, we put on an informational presentation at University of San Francisco and had at least 5 physicians sign up saying, when Tigray is open, we want to go. Professor Diaz is saying they will be doing that program again, where they're going to other parts of Tigray. So, and a big shout out to Ms. Hodges, who's been a longtime advocate. Joanne, I followed you since day one, and we love you. But, you know, these new incredible community members now that we have in our long-term allies give people the opportunity to show up for Tigray. So come, and that's my spiel for HPN for Tigray. Nobody be mad. And Dr. Aragawi, as far as Aya, is there some, you know, can you sign up even if you're not an alumni? That's my question for you. Can you sign up with the alumni to do this work if you're not an alumni?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, it is. To begin with, I'm an alumni, and I'm, you know, with Danny's dad, we were one of the, people who started this organization. And Danny's dad was an incredible man who made this organization very, very viable. And actually, he was the guy who coined digital library in Tigray to narrow the digital gap. So it just was an incredible man who was, he was the brain of our organization, and we felt sorry and devastated by his early loss. And, but Danny's dad was the head and brain of our organization. One of the things that Dr. Taka asked was that actually this project, if we succeed with the pilot project, our goal is to reach out all Tigrayan children. So that is, this going to be a very impactful program if we really work together. So we need more people in this program to succeed. And then one of the areas I promote and encourage is this problem in Tigray is so huge and complex. We have to unbundle this problem. And one of the ways to do is to bite those small problems piece by piece. And so if we really go toward the children, and then if we succeed, we can expand it. Like, for example, the next level of engagement could be helping the veterans. The veterans of the war are the most affected people, and we can reach out as a group, so that, we had to really bite this problem piece by piece, because if you jumble it, and big complex problems are very hard to solve. So please come and join us to the Ate Yohannes Alumni Association engagement with the children. The reason we chose Ate Yohannes is because, number one, most of us went to school in Ate Yohannes, so that you start what you are familiar with. And then if we succeed, there is no reason why we can't spread it to the entire Tigray.
One bite at a time.
Dr. Teka, please join us in that endeavor.
Thank you. Actually, in Cameroon, they have a team of group, like from nursing, PA, pharmacists, doctors, that they have a trip every year, and all inclusive, American, Canadian, whatever volunteer to do this. They are very successful. They choose, they before they go, they select states, and the government really working with them. And when they go there is no time to waste. They go there, they do all kind of disease state and therapy and medications, all that stuff. So I would like to join this, but I'll call you and talk to you before I do that. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I really like the way you put it, sort of summarize one bite at a time. I think you both will agree that, part of our heartache here in the diaspora is, as I mentioned earlier, I've been in community meetings where, a group of women have really cried about who's helping our sisters, who's who's helping our sisters who've been traumatized, right? Not understanding what kind of outreach is happening is also part of what causes us that anxiety. So I want to transition in a way of closing out. Can I do a rapid fire question with you, Professor Diaz? Okay. All right. So as you could imagine, this is not our first time around the rodeo. I found out that you and I both like to start usually with identifying terminology. I was re-listening to something that we'd done in the past, and I was like, well, that's what I'd love to do too. But we've talked about trauma, and we've kind of thrown out these words throughout this conversation with Dr. Aragawi and ourselves, and Dr. Tekka as well. Ready?
Yeah, we'll give it a try.
Let's go. Okay. I won't put a clock on it, but rapid fire. Define trauma.
Trauma is an overwhelming experience that you have experienced that goes beyond your ability to cope and leaves a lasting imprint on you. Essentially, that's what it is. I know there's more to it than that, but that's essentially what we're looking at. And it could be, yeah, see now you got to stop me, but it could be something that's perception as well as the actual thing that happened to you. So sometimes it's a perception of something, and that includes hearing about it. So for instance, the diaspora, hearing about what happened in Tigray is a trauma because you're hearing about it, and there's that perception piece is part of it. So it's not just what you've experienced, but also what you've experienced even secondhand can be a part of that.
So can you give us, number two, that the terminology for that secondhand as well as the terminology for that firsthand trauma?
For sure. Firsthand it's the trauma happens to you, right? You were there, you were in the war, you were in Mariam Dangalat on that terrible day, right? So that's firsthand. Secondhand is you hear about it. You hear about it from your loved ones. You hear about it perhaps in the course of your work, which I know all of you are doing, right? You hear about it through maybe it's through the media that you take in. We can be traumatized by those things as well. And that's a technical definition. That's not me coming up. That's the DSM, the psychiatrists who came up with that.
It's official. So going into lawmakers' offices daily, weekly, attesting to the actual physical trauma being faced in Tigray. Firsthand, secondhand trauma.
Do you mean as advocates? That would be secondhand. Yeah, that would be the diaspora doing that secondhand trauma, but not. Don't be mistaken that it's any less of a seriousness or the impact. It's the same as firsthand.
Absolutely. Okay, having solidified that it is equally as traumatizing with all its ramifications. Being in Tigray and hearing about a certain section of Tigray, the turmoil, and knowing that is coming your way, firsthand or secondhand trauma?
The anticipation, I guess, technically is secondhand, but it's going to be firsthand. It's going to be firsthand. But yeah, that secondhand anticipation can be absolutely devastating and impactful for sure. Yeah.
Seeing a family member abused, which especially at the onset, we heard so much of. Firsthand, secondhand trauma?
I would label it firsthand. Technically, it's secondhand because the abuse isn't happening to you, and so you're witnessing it. But if you're right there when it happened, of course, it's
And being here in the diaspora and seeing a close community member, whether it's close because you've met this person online in advocacy, or it's someone within your community or family, having a mental health breakdown and potentially hurting themselves because of the untreated trauma because of the genocide. If a sister, a brother, a father witnesses that, is that firsthand or secondhand?
At this, I would probably label it. It could be either. It could be either. The impact is still just the same as if it was you going through it. So I guess technically it's secondhand because you're witnessing something that's happening, right? Or you're hearing about it. But again, just want to reinstate how important it is for in terms of the impact, right? Like the impact is the same as if it was happening to you.
So you did a great job of solidifying that it is as impactful as firsthand. Yeah. My presentation of it was slightly tricky question because I wanted to somehow solidify that it is also considered trauma. There's many of cases, right?
Yeah.
Those cases that people don't perceive as having been traumatized.
For sure. So one thing I wanted to say real quick, if I can say it in a minute, if that's okay. So my background is Puerto Rican. Okay. A few years ago, the island where my dad's side of the family comes from, went through a terrible Hurricane Maria, devastated the whole island. All power was gone. The whole island was hit by Category 5. Terrible, right? I was surprised by the impact that had on me, despite being a trauma therapist. I wasn't there. I wasn't part of what happened, right? But just hearing about it, the lack of contact, right? And I know this is a completely different situation, much less severe and horrible than what people of Tigray have gone through, just acknowledging that. But there's that notion of being being an insider in the community, but being outside of it, watching, trying to get information. In some ways, it's more distressing in some ways than being through part of it, at least. Because when you're there, you at least know. You know where you can find safety, right? Like, people were telling me jokes, like from Michele, not jokes, but like making light of like, oh, this is what it was like from under the siege. This is what happened. And I remember you all in the diaspora talking about it and just not knowing what was happening. And the reality of what was being imagined was different than what was happening. There was a huge imbalance, right? And the same thing happened with me with Hurricane Maria when I didn't have contact with my loved ones it was just a few days, really, right? So I just wanted to kind of highlight that too, that what the diaspora has been through is so much a trauma. I honestly see it when I work with you all and on these calls and all these trainings and things. Like I can see the anxiety. I can feel it as you talk, right? And it's a massive thing to kind of to want to address too, and to make sure that you're addressing, because you've been through the ringer in such intense ways. That's one of the reasons why I'm encouraging people like, professionals and people like that to go to Tigray, because you're going to see, like, yes, you'll see the difference of what it was like before until now, and you'll see the heaviness in the people. But I think it actually would help to settle you a little bit more, to be honest. Like, oh, okay, there's workers here. There's Haki Foundation. They're doing amazing work. Okay, there's hope here. It's not as bleak as what it might. I don't know. I don't want to make light of what's happened, but there's maybe more hope than what you realize looking, like being in America or Canada looking in.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's clear at all. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm making light of anything, but
not at all.
The comparison I can make is that Hurricane Maria thing. Having gone through
the trauma. It's still that trauma. All the processes are there.
Exactly.
You asked rapid fire. What is a trigger?
Oh, for me still? Sorry, a trigger?
What is a trigger in terms of mental health? When we talk about that's so triggering for me, that triggered me, or you can have triggers from the trauma you've experienced from the genocide. Yeah,
for sure. It's just simply something that reminds you of the situation, the traumatizing situation. Anything that reminds you of it. That's what a trigger is. And then it brings back the thoughts and the feelings. So you can say, oh, that thing triggered me. That conversation triggered me. It just reminded you, and it brought back the feelings and the thoughts of the trauma.
One of my triggers now is slamming a door. Slamming the door, my partner slamming the door, my son slamming the door. They're just coming in and out, but it maybe re-traumatized me, because we were at the Derg War, and once I started to think about what the potential, what our people were going through during the Tigray genocide, I don't know, something stirred in me. So now someone said to me a week ago, you seem to be always in a fight or flight mode, because just somebody closing the door heavily triggers me. Last rapid fire, PTSD. We hear that a lot in normal conversation.
Yeah.
What is PTSD?
It's a diagnosis that, Western psychiatrists have come up with to kind of describe this experience of the after impacts of trauma, right? The symptoms. It's a broad term. It's a specific diagnosis that's given, right? It's a little different from the word trauma in that people can say, well, yeah, I've experienced trauma. I've experienced this terrible thing that's happened to me and it's impacted me. But PTSD is a very specific psychiatric diagnosis that has a specific amount of symptoms. In order for you to say, I have PTSD, you have to be diagnosed by a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And I think in America, social workers can diagnose too. So that's really it. It's just a diagnosis. It is a word that's kind of used interchangeably with trauma, right? Or it's a phrase.
That's true. If you've never been diagnosed, some of the aspects of it can be.
can be, flashbacks, so re-experiencing the trauma, right? Can be heightened emotions, right? Things like fear, anger, things like that. Could be symptoms of avoidance, so you really work hard to not think or not feel anything about the trauma. You don't want to think about it, you don't want to experience it, so you might have different behaviors to prevent yourself from re-experiencing it in some way. There's a number of symptoms. The list is actually quite long, but those are nightmares is another one, for instance. Yeah, there's
a lot to deal with. A lot of us deal with that. And what I want to take away from that is, even though you may not have been diagnosed, these are some of the symptoms. And if you or someone you know and love, you're feeling like these might be some of the symptoms that that Professor Diaz just mentioned, it's don't diagnose yourself for sure, but just want to encourage you to seek help. Please seek help. There's nothing wrong at all remotely, because question you have, probably 10 of your family members have, and more so of your community members. In closing, I really apologize. I took 15 minutes out of your time. It was not intentional. I hope you really got some value out of this. I know at the very least, you very much enjoyed meeting our mental health segment guests and community members. I know I really did, and I'm sure you wanted to hear more from them than you did of me, but you got what you got. As always, Tigray tsarna belna na'azoina. From this segment, we love you so much, and sending so much grace and hope fueled with action. And my personal prayer is that we extend grace to ourselves so that we're able to extend that grace to others around us. Mental health is really serious, and hoping that we are as receptive to our own and our communities as our community members in Tigray are. You heard it from, the people who are experiencing that fact. So in closing, thank you so much for your attention, and I'll give it back to our moderator, Edu, or Danny Dalasawa. Take it away.
Yes, Helena, Dr. Diaz, Dr. Aragawi, thank you. Thank you so much. Simply incredible. We appreciate you. Learned a lot from you guys, and I'm sure our viewers have too. I would like to thank all our moderators, as well as our panels, and most importantly, our viewers. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, TMH, for broadcasting this. And team, we appreciate you. Aklilu. We also want to thank all the organizations who supported this. We appreciate you. At the end, I want to make sure that I say, remember the victims of Tigray, always in our hearts. Dr. Mahatma is going to give us 2 to 3 minutes of summary of what we've talked about, or a closing statement. And then Dr. Sakar Miki, if you can play the national anthem, that would conclude our panel discussion today. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Dr. Mahatma, please go ahead. Dr. Mahatma, please unmute.
Okay, thank you, Danny. I would like also to thank all participants for being with us today and actively participate in today's panel discussion, which is organized by Security and Justice for Tigrayans, SJT, based on the issues of Tigray. Especially based on the Tigray genocide, advocacy, and the issue of mental health. So we have a lot to do in the future, and we hope to see again in the near future with new topics. Once again, I would like to thank you all for your participation. خبركم تخططلتنا لما أنتي دحنة فتحنا تجارز تدالوه ناي بانل زيتين كم استخطتلكم ويمثل بزح تمرتهم زوصلكم بزح حساباتكم زوصلكم تسفى نقدر تقرأينا هزبون ناي كله تقرأوت تساتفو تحت اللوان كم زلو تردينا لنا دياسبورا تقرأي بتلي تغرتي وخصر على مزخول مدات بدن بتنظري مثلا بتم سميا وانا بقدمنت نكتاتلو قداي حطويو حزب تقرأي زصنة السبات نزعن خيوصو تخاتاتينا ناي حق نغرور من قدي بغصالنا نصرح القداي كم دخونا تردينا لنا أبزوان زي مريتنا 400 أو مريت تقرأي بصلاة تتحيزو حزبنا تمازابلو الصغير لخنا تأسفة زلو حزب قرزيون فتحنا خلال كل دمسن خنقوون كنت كالس كان زقبالنا مريتنا سكعنا سازوصه تمازابل تماليسو مسكعز الطايشو برتنا خنصرح لخنا زقبالنا تردينا لنا سلازي دياسبورا تقرأينا بزبالة توديو تتناخيرو كارسخو حيل كم زقبو ايو تزلو رديت بز مسارة زي كلمة يزو نكايزو بزنبرنا أكايدا كنكسر زي نخير مقامنا تردانا له وأفيلت زخونا بوليتيكال مراحتن ناتصبخ السراح وصيتو كم نريد الناس فازقنا دياسبورا تقرأي نزاز خوانا نيو عرسو دابل مسريتو تحاور وأطايشو قد تتحان حزب زراد المنقدي كمن نسرح تسفى بمقوار ناكال بمطاونا لما انتي أخيوانا خمس أزمو سلزي أبزغز الوغزيات دياسبورا تقرأي نيو عرسو دابتان أخيرو تي أدوكسون أتان أخيرو نخوص لولو حزبون نخحقز بتلي هولنا تقرأينا نخقال أخيرو زوفرنا يوم جاغاننا تقودين تماليسم الله بركت زورت قدات اللونا እንደገና ትምህርት ዝርከብ ተመዛበለ ህዝቡና ለናስ ስለዚህ በፖለቲካ አይኔ በአድቮኬሲ አይኔ መካይደ ቃርስም ተሐሎ ሆይኑ እንደገና ፋይናንሻልም ክረዶ ዝግበና ሁኔታ ስለዘሎ ስለዚህ እነዚህ ምቹ ሆነ ኩነታት ከምንፈጠር ተስፋ ገበር ስለዚህ ኩሉ አብሮዛ ዝርከብ ዲያስፖራ ኣብዚ ጉዳይ እዚ ናይ ባዕርሶ ወይኑ ገይሩ ንኾስ ደሞ ኣብዝቀበለ ፃውዒትና ተረኸበ ዝግቦ ንኽዋዋፃ ተስፋ ምንጋር ያው ናይ ሎማ ኣኸባና እዚ ንዛዝመለና የቕኒልና ስለ ዘዳመፅኩና
Thank you. The national anthem of Tigray, please. Miki, are you there? Or Dr. Tedwood?
I think playing it, but the microphone may not be working.
Yeah, the microphone might not be working. It's okay. Well, thank you all. Go ahead. Well, Tigray to Sir Rinan Audio, Tigray Sir. Thank you again, everyone.
Tigray Sir. Mogosin Kubrin Suwatna.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you. This concludes our program.
Thank you, Anilna.
Thank you.
Right,